Hello YouTubers, Active Asshole on Pills here with another video. This one will be in response to Realists, Real Motives, subtitled Let the Sick Die to Purify the Work First Part 1 by WhedonFreak976. Did an excellent video on the issue of the right using distractions, race as a distraction, to keep civil activists from fighting for better enhancement of second generation human rights and economic justice and the defense of the disabled in this country. And I wanted to make this video to build upon some of the things that Whedon Freak has said, that Mike has said on the issue of race being used as a distraction. And I think, well, first I think we need to get some historical context out of the way for the rights, for the rights history of doing this, going all the way back to the end of the Second World War. Before the civil rights movement, before the culture wars and such went into high gear, the American right, uh, they began hijacking the race issue. They began hijacking states' rights racism as an issue, and pro-segregation and all that, under the candidacy of Barry Goldwater, and with the help of groups like the John Birch Society and the former members of the right-wing groups from the Great Depression, such as the American Liberty League and the Silver Shirts Legions and other groups. And at the time, it's forgotten by history, but at the time, organized labor was thinking about making a very strong push into the South to bring workers' rights to Old Dixie. And during that time, the civil rights movement got kicked into high gear, and the battle for economic justice in the South, in that region, got thrown to the wayside. And as industries were moving to the South, they were beginning to reinforce the low wage, cheap labor trap that culturally defined the South for many decades, going all the way back to the earliest days of slavery. And this is, the South was going to be, had it not been for our switching gears to the issue of race, the South was going to be the next battle. And yes, it was good. It was very good that the civil rights legislation and the voting rights legislation were signed. It was good because it needed to happen. De jure segregation in the South and de facto segregation everywhere else in America had to be broken. It had to be stopped. But there was a dark side that was overlooked, an unintended dark side, but it gave the American right and many of the hardcore Friedrich Hayek people a window of opportunity to strengthen their position in the one field that really mattered to them, making shitloads of money without having to worry about social responsibility or the social costs of any of it. And they certainly did not want organized labor expanding into the South and raising the wage standards of the southern states. They did not want the SEIU and other groups, AFL, those groups, CIO, going into the South and reinforcing any of the past gains that were made by coal unions and such, and textile labor unions and such. They did not want any kind of revamping, any kind of sustained capacity of labor to follow industry into the Sun Belt as it was leaving the Rust Belt. So you see, the American right, has a very long history. The Friedrich Hayek uber anarcho-capitalist corporatist people have a very long history of using race as a means of redirecting efforts by civil activists, by advocates for second-generation human rights, away from the battle for economic justice on issues such as the protection of workers' rights and the strengthening of other human rights that revolve around workers' rights. Such as a better civil service, better education, public education. Remember, again, the South had a long history of historical revision after the end of Reconstruction too. We have to remember that. And this, going back to what I was going to say again. So yes, the American right, what they've done is they've been doing this for decades, many decades, going all the way back to the 1960s, 1950s. And Wiedenfreak is right. We have to stand against these people. We've got to do something. We've got to do something. We've got to make sure that we're not distracted by race baiting by the American right. The American right has been doing this for years. They did it with the Willie Horton ads made by Lee Atwater. They did it during the early days of the Southern strategy of Kevin Phillips and Richard Nixon, where they produced ads that used white social conservative resentment, disenchantment, and resentment with toward affirmative action to get U.S. senators, Republican U.S. senators elected. And later on, this paid huge dividends to the South when the Republican Party's successes started percolating down to the state and local level offices as well. Initially, when the Republicans began to win on the race issue, it only really pertained to higher offices such as the U.S. president and, in the outer South, certain key U.S. Senate states. But later on, today, many traditionally safe Democratic bastions, or at least what are left over as Democratic bastions in the South in the wake of the Southern strategy, many of them are starting to get wiped out because of the strengthening of the hand of the American right due to this distraction, due to the legacy of the Southern strategy and the distraction tactics. And I have a really bad, again, I'm sorry, I have a really bad habit of getting off topic. In fact, where am I am I off topic? I don't know. I'm just going to put this entire video out here anyway. I'm not even going to edit it. I'm not really good at editing or anything, because I'm a neophyte. I'm pretty much new at this kind of thing. I've made a few videos, but I haven't really tried to refine my capacity for making good videos. I just put my rants out there, but I'm trying to make this one seriously, so please work with me, people. So yeah, the distractionary tactics by the American right have provided conservatives with a very powerful foot in the door. Even when the American Independence Party and other racist third parties that formed in the South and such as the one under George Wallace and such and everything, after the dust had cleared and from the wreckage, conservatives were able to build some kind of coalition from the remnants of those disaffected, disenchanted Southern states' rights crazy people. We'll just call them crazy people, because again, they're the people who typically fall into the whole angry white man resentment crap that Thomas Frank had outlined in his book, What's the Matter with Kansas? which you can get on Amazon, 2004. Please rate it 5 stars. I love that book. And many people in the wake of the 2004 election love it too. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Thomas. Frank. Yeah, thank you. Um, again, the American right, they don't care about second generation human rights. They don't care about protecting the rights of the disabled, the rights of workers. They don't care about protecting the civil service. They just want to privatize it and use and raid the public coffers, just raid the commons. And this is what race baiting is about. It's about distractionary tactics to get people to forget where the real battle always lied, where it always lay, and that was with economics. That was with privatization, deregulation, tort reform, enshrining in law the capacity of corporate power brokers and plutocrats, robber barons of our time, to raid the commons, to take all of the taxes, the hundreds of billions of dollars that we, our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents paid into building up this country and transferring that wealth into their private hands. And we can't allow race baiting, we can't allow the culture wars or race baiting or these kinds of things to take our eye off the ball. Yes, it's important to fight things such as racism and theocracy, but we have to remember that the real target of the American right has always been the destruction of the New Deal, the destruction of the Great Society reforms that initially helped disabled people, the destruction of the progressive reform era policies that allowed us to break the backs of the trusts and of the robber barons and of the crooked political machines that existed within the cities in the later half of the 19th century and early 20th century. We have to make sure that we never take our eye off of the real objective here, and that is the promotion of economic justice every bit as much as social justice. And too often within this age of culture wars and within this age of theocon, dominionism, Christian reconstruction infused religious right fanaticism, we forget in this battle against all of those horrifying forces, we forget where the real battle with the right has always lied, and that's with their pocketbooks. That's with enlarging their ownership of this country. And in making and in doing so, putting the old order, the one that our grandparents and parents rejected, the social Darwinistic idea of leaving poor and disabled and sick people to die in the streets, leaving that idea in the past, in the dustbin of history where it belongs. The attack upon altruism, the attacks upon the greater general welfare of the American polity. This is what the American right is all about at the core of things. The religious right, states' rights, racist type people, they're window dressing. It's bread and circuses. Important battles, yes, but ultimately bread and circuses. Think about it this way. Those who fund the religious right, they ever overturn Roe versus Wade? They're rich enough to run off to Europe and get their teenage daughter an abortion. They have nothing to lose. It's all a distractionary tactic so that they can continue to have their special privilege place, a place that they temporarily were pushed back on during the reformist moralist days of the New Deal and the Great Society reforms, but a place that under Reagan's policies and under the corporate counter-revolution's policies, in the wake of those policies, they managed to push back and repeal, roll back many of the reforms that us, the 99 percenters, that our socioeconomic bracket and our allies within the cross-class alliance that amounted to the New Deal coalition put into practice, put into public policy. But again, don't take your eye off the ball. Too often we have fallen for that. The American right is insidious in their use of the race issue as a means of allowing them to distract the rest of us long enough to slip their hands into our back pocket and take us for all we're worth.